Welcome to Dr. Dan On, presented by the Christopher, I should know how to say the foundation I work for, the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. I'm Rob Girth. I'm the Director of Digital Media here at the Foundation. And today's show is Dr. Dan on our identities, who we are, who we were, who we are, and who we will be. And we're really looking for this to be a conversation. So ideally, everybody is signed in. I can see that you're all signed in, which is great. You don't have to change anything. If you can just, if you want to participate by actually asking a question, talking to Dan, just as the operator said before, you just have to dial the 800 number. I will put it on the chat. So there it is on the chat, and I'll just tell it to you, 800-931-1309, 800-931-1309. So we want to try to make this as much of a conversation as possible. You don't have to be, don't be shy. Dan's pretty easy to talk to. And to get this to happen, to achieve this, there are some technical details. So I'm going to invite our operator for today, Christy, to come back on and give us some of those details. Christy.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at the start of the presentation, all lines will be in an open and interactive mode. To ensure the best audio quality, please use your mute button when not speaking. You may press 6-3 to mute your line and 6-6 to unmute. If at any time during the conference you need to reach an operator, please press the *0. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Wednesday, February the 6th, 2013. I would now like to turn the conference back over to Mr. Rob Girth. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, and I will turn it over to Dr. Dan Gottlieb. Dan.
Well, hello, everybody. Old friends, I'm looking at this list, old friends and a new one. So it starts off this way. I had a show on Monday. My last show was, or the show before was with a fellow named Dan Gilbert. He's a cognitive scientist at Harvard, and he wrote an article about our identities. And the research on this showed that most of us don't think our identities are going to change much going forward. But when we look back over the last 10 years, we see that they've changed a lot, and 20 years, that much more. But when we look ahead, we think they're not going to change. And all of that got me thinking that about us especially, I mean, it's very dramatic about who we were before the accident, our identities, if we even had one, and who we are now post-accident. And I'm posing these questions. Rob will put up some polls or questions. But the question I have is, have we changed? Has our identity changed since the accident? Now, at the moment of the accident, sure, our identities changed. Well, more accurately, we lost our identity. But then we acquired one, and my early identity was, I'm a quadriplegic. That's who I am, and everything else is second to that. And then my identity kind of evolved to I am a quadriplegic psychologist, father, so on and so forth. So identities evolve. Quadriplegia now, 30 years later, is still part of the mix of how I see myself, but it's not up front. It's not the main headline when I try to describe myself, I don't think. So that's what stimulated this, that, I look back over these 30 years, and I've changed tremendously. And I changed dramatically over those first 10, but it didn't feel like I did. So I'm curious about your identity, whether you're, disabled or whether you're a caregiver. And for example, we've got Molly here joined the discussion. She said she lost her identity when her husband went into a mental institution. And she, goes on talking about all the great difficulties she's encountering as a caregiver, the powerlessness, and so on and so forth. And the conflicts within her marriage. But that's, and I see we've got my dear friend Trish is listening in also. And, many caregivers, their identity changes like mine did as a quadriplegic. But is that who we are? Is that fixed? Or does that change? So, I wonder for Molly, now Molly's bringing up other issues that are not directly tied into identity, and I'll try to answer them. But are we locked in to this identity of just quadriplegic or just caregiver? And what does it take to kind of release or grasp on that identity and make the lens of our lives a little wider? So that's my opening babble. So if anybody would like to chime in on the phone or on the chat, I would love to hear from you. Molly, till I hear, Molly, you're bringing up all sorts of other issues here, and that's what happens when you're living with or caring for someone with a severe mental illness. I think, the real issue here is legal as much as anything else. If he's not able to be managed in the home, and, the threshold here, Molly, is of danger to self and other, then, it's like you're saying, you can't have him home. And I would recommend you seeing a lawyer and a psychiatrist, so one who specializes in mental health. So you could contact, I don't know where you live, you could contact the Mental Health Association where you live and describe that kind of situation for them, and they can give you advice, because believe me, you're not the first person who has been in that situation. So it looks pretty dangerous as I read this. So I strongly encourage you to either call the Mental Health Association or National Institute of Mental Health or the Center for Mental Health Services. It's a federal organization. But at the very least, you need to get an attorney on board to take care of yourself. And, that's really the issue for caregivers. I know technically this isn't supposed to be about caregivers, but I'll talk a bit about that because I got nobody's joining the conversation. So
there are a couple people on the phone. If somebody would like to, you just have to unmute, hit 66 to unmute, and go ahead and ask a question.
Hey, Rob, is there any way I can see who's on the phone?
I don't know. Christy, can we tell who's on the phone, or how many? We can tell how many. Christy, are you still there? I know she's there. She wouldn't leave us alone.
Yeah, we're not to be trusted alone.
No, not with all this technology. No, I'm not hearing her. I'll try dialing her separately, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, though, if anybody else wants to ask a question, just unmute, hit 6-6. Mute is 6-3, unmute is 6-6. So please go ahead.
Nobody. All right.
Hey, Dr. Dan, this is Candace.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. It took me a little bit to unmute. I was driving and I needed to stop.
That's a good plan.
Yeah, be safe. I really like your questions today. And I really like your questions always. They make me think and clarify in my own life. So I was 21 in 1975 when I had a spinal cord injury and became a paraplegic. So before that, with my identity, I didn't really. I mean, I was working as a blackjack dealer in South Lake Tahoe and hanging out with friends and stuff. So I didn't really think of it as, I guess, a piece of my identity as a blackjack dealer. And then being a part of a family, a really strong family unit, was a piece of who I was, because we were getting together. So after my injury, I felt like that I lost everything, that everything that I was before, someone who liked to hike or be outdoors, or a blackjack dealer, even a family member, I felt like I had, that it all just went away, and that I was being reborn into something else. And that took a little while to come around from feeling like I wanted it to just go away. So I stayed in denial for a couple of years and put myself into therapy and started to explore how I could redefine who I could be. And I got really caught up in the societal images of someone with a disability. Then they were bringing me down. So I decided to go to college, and I majored in physical therapy and met some other people in wheelchairs, and it felt like I now had a new identity. I had this community and this group, and I strongly identified with other people in wheelchairs, and we started to do sports, and that helped me move away from being that girl in the wheelchair that stuck out all the time to a person that was now active in society and was working and had hopes and dreams and things like that. It felt like before my injury I was really anonymous, and I could kind of pick however I wanted to be, and then it felt like after there was this time where I was this thing, because that's what society said I was, and I had no idea what that was. And then I started to mold something else. And so that...
What? All right, so let me ask you
okay.
the question that's in one of the polls. I assume you're not 21 anymore.
No, I certainly am not. I'm turning 59 this year.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So do you see yourself changing much over the next 5-10 years?
Yes.
You
yes.
do?
I do. It feels like I'm evolving continuously now, that my identity is really my, like, it's part of my power. Like, I can be whatever I want to be. So I see myself as more active in advocacy type work and creating change in the world, and the last 27 years was really a big piece of it was all about just creating change in me.
What changed? What was it that enabled you to evolve and become more empowered when you look back on it?
I think first of all, when I decided to move out of the denial that my injury had happened and seek guidance, that was a piece that empowered me by seeking the guidance and then following through with spending time with counselors and then applying some of the tools that they gave me to my life.
Let me stop you there a minute. I've talked here before about a phrase from AA. One of the first few steps, but it starts with the two words, became willing. So you became willing. You had no tools. All you knew was that you were hurting and you became willing to do something different.
That I would describe it that way. That's very well said. Thank you. Okay. I was willing.
As opposed to willing to go, I got to go, I have no choice.
I woke up one day and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else. I didn't know what that was, but I knew that I needed guidance somehow, and I was open and willing to that guidance, and I've stayed open and willing to that guidance throughout my life now, and have periodically sought guidance from a variety of people and situations to help me move into the next identity that, I guess I'll use as a word right now, of who I can be.
Hey, you know what? The more I listen to you, the more I'm not hearing any identity at all. Kind of an absence. I was treating a woman years ago who had a pretty high power position. She was about your age. She had a high power academic position. It's around the time her kids were going to school, leaving for school, for college. Her husband was, I think, a high power lawyer, and she got knocked down from her academic position, from chair of a department to whatever, head of research. And she came in with an identity crisis, like a perfect storm of an identity crisis. So she said to me, have you ever had an identity crisis? I said, are you kidding? Dozens. So she said, what about now? And I said, no, I don't have them now. And she said, why not? I said, I stopped looking for my identity. I just stopped looking. Like the identity is just so elusive and always changes. And I guess my identity is just how I experience my life. And that changes day by day, hour by hour. I mean, there's some core parts that are me that really haven't changed over the years. But those labels don't kind of work for me.
I agree with you. I'm thinking that from listening to what you just said, that if we were able to let go of those labels, we would feel so much more empowered to just be and create in the world. Yeah.
Now, we've got this text here, this chat from Donna. Did you read it? Can you read it?
Oh,
No,
is that you, Rob?
that's me. Yeah, they can't see it, Dan. You have to read it to
All
them.
right, let me read to you what Donna said. Donna said, and thanks for this, Donna, by the way. She said, Dr. Dan, I think you have to reinvent your life, start over and adapt to what is now. It certainly has an unbelievable impact on both the caregiver and the person being cared for. Staying active and connected to friends and family. We all have a difficult time with change. We all need to keep on top of everything that is out there and continue to seek information. And, it sounds kind of like that's what you've been doing over your lifetime. And Don, I couldn't agree with you more. It does have an unbelievable impact. And you know what happens when we are traumatized? That it's like we're hit by a tsunami and we clutch onto whatever we can. We clutch onto an old identity, or we clutch onto whatever we can just to get some sense of stability, even if it's artificial, even if it's unhealthy. But when we feel like we've got everything pulled from our grasp, we hold on. We hold on to whatever we can find. And post-accident, and I'll tell you, this happened with me, post-accident, my identity at home was that of depression and suffering and needing TLC and support. When I went to work, I was a different person. I was more upbeat. I was more involved with other people, with my colleagues. And then when I went home, my identity switched again. And I really clutched onto that depressed guy identity. I held on to it for a long time. And in hindsight, I was afraid to let go of it because that was my identity and I had lost so much. It's really hard to let go.
It was what you knew. Dr. Dan, it's what you knew, and that's why it didn't feel like there was anything else but that. That's why you held on to it, I think. Because for me, I will never again get isolated like that. I will, whenever I get into a place where I'm confused or I'm not sure and I'm stuck, I reach out. And that has been a super duper gift from my injury, is the ability to reach out.
Yeah. I've said very often, I've quoted Brene Brown, and I just highly encourage everybody to look her up and see her on her TED Talks. But she says all of this stuff is about vulnerability tolerance, and that what isolates us from each other is we can't tolerate our own vulnerability. We hide from it. We pretend it's not there. We're ashamed of it. We blame others for it. Because we find it intolerable. But, it's like your experience that once you learn to tolerate your own anxiety, your own vulnerability, then you can reach out. And then you find yourself in community. Because what humans do, And there's even research about non-humans who do this. Once you reach out and say in so many words, I'm vulnerable, or I need help, people open up their hearts. It's a reflex. It's an evolutionary genetic response, because that's what we do. We're inclined to help when we're confronted face to face with vulnerability. It tends to open our.
And I agree with you. I like Bree Brown. I like her a lot. And that piece on vulnerability and that reaching out, what I've learned it's given me is a sense of connection. You know, the community that you spoke of. But even deeper, that real sense of, yeah, we're in this together and we're one and we're so much more alike than we are different, and it's so cool, and that's that feeling I get when I reach back out and seek that guidance. It's powerful.
Exactly. But you know what else happens? The same exact thing happens when you reach out to help someone else.
Great point.
The same exact brain mechanisms get engaged. The same oxytocin gets released, norepinephrine, dopamine, and all those other hormones that I can't pronounce. They all get released. It doesn't matter whether we are in the giving or receiving end. We feel more involved. We feel more part of community when we reach out. Now, you know, I also feel a connection here with Donna, who talks about caregivers, and you know, my friend Trish is there, and I know she's a caregiver. And caregivers might say to me, you know, that's great, you know, that's just wonderful. You're asking me to reach out and help other people when I've devoted, you know, 32 hours a day to helping someone here. Well, what I suggest is that, of course, you need self-care, and that brings me back to the identity issue. You know, if your identity is that of a caregiver, then you're going to be just a caregiver. But, you know, you are a complete man, woman, and you are as valuable. Your humanity is just as valuable as anybody else's, even though they might have symptoms on the outside and yours are on the inside. But your care, your nourishment at all levels is critical. You have a responsibility to yourself, to your loved ones, to care for yourself, to give yourself the gift of breath, of life, of respite. And you know, I'm not asking you to, you know, go away for a month to a spa, even though I'm sure all caregivers would love to do that. But find some time for yourself during the day, every day, to just sit quietly, have a cup of tea, close your eyes, taste the tea, feel your breath, taste food. Just slow down and nurture your body and your spirit. It's critical. It's critical to sustain life, spiritual life also. So, you know, it's here where identity morphs into a worldview. You know, this is my life, this is who they are, this is who I am, and this is the way the world works. And I'm sure you had that, and we all do to a certain extent. You've got a new worldview now.
Yes, and it, you know, the subject that you were on, the taking care of self, seems to be the one that I work the most diligently on making sure that it happens. And having created my morning meditation for myself seems to have really created an oasis that sustains me.
What do you mean? What do you mean by morning meditation?
I sit in the morning for 45 minutes after I wake up, and I basically feel and watch my breath go in and out. It's a mindfulness meditation, and then I also add in a loving kindness meditation.
Well, all right, let me stop you there.
Uh-huh.
Now, a normal person is going to listen to you and say, all right, you sit there for 45 minutes and you listen to your breath. First of all, that makes no sense, and it sounds boring, and what the hell is the benefit of listening to your breath?
Well, would you like me to tell you?
I would.
Okay. By concentrating on my breath and listening to it and feeling it, actually feeling it come all the way in and pausing and then letting it go all the way out, rhythmically creates a quietness that at first, like honestly, for the first 20 minutes, my mind is just chatter, 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 chatter. And I have a couple of techniques that I've learned to just appreciate the chatter and then ask it to sit to the side for a little bit, and it can come back later. So while that chatter is slowing down, I'm still focusing, feeling, and listening to my breath going in and out, where eventually it's just me and my breath, and it's peaceful. It's really peaceful. It's quiet, and for some reason that recharges my batteries. It makes me have clarity in all my thought processes later in the day, and it also gives me this. It's like a feeling of compassion that when I go through my day, I look at people in a compassionate way, and I look at the things I'm doing in a compassionate way, and it feels really joyful to me. So it might sound like it's boring, but it really isn't. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I kind of miss that emotion from when I was a kid. Boredom. My head's way too busy for that. But the other thing that happens, and it's been cultivated in you over the years, and many meditators say this, that at first you do it because you think you have to. And it is boring. It is hard to sit there. And by the way, we used to think 40 minutes was a minimum, and it's not anymore. You can get results in 20 or 30. Or they're even experimenting with multiple seatings, like do it for 10 3 times a day. But
yes, I've
the
heard
other
that.
thing that happens is we do it because we believe that it'll help us without knowing how. But eventually, over months and years, we're doing it as an act of kindness for ourselves. It's a way of nurturing ourselves. The process is nurturing, and the decision to sit down is nurturing. And even when you go to sleep at night, do it as an act of love for your body, not as a relief or a necessity or an inconvenience, but do it as an act of love for your fatigued body. Say here, I'll take care of you. You've worked hard all day today. I'll let you rest now. So if you can do all of this as an act of love, it really does kind of change figure and ground. And I do want to say something here. We got a note from Trish who said, "You will be happy to know I agree with you. Caregivers rock. However, we deserve an identity outside of that role of caregiver." Now, I've got to say a disclaimer here. The reason Trish said I'll be happy to know that I agree with her is because Trish and I are dear friends, even though we live about 1,000 miles away. And we became dear friends for the same reason you and I talked about 20 minutes ago, that Trish on the Reef webpage was complaining about her life, trying to describe her life. But what she said was she was looking to be understood. And that statement is a statement of vulnerability. And that opened up my heart. So I responded back out of kindness, out of affection, kind of a tender-hearted response. And then we began an email exchange, and we've become dear friends. And yeah, we bickered about these issues like, oh, I don't know, teacher, student, older brother, younger sister. Notice I'm always keeping myself in the position of power here because I like to think I was always right. And Trish is not on the phone, so I can get away with it. So anyway, so that's why she said I'm happy to agree. Anyway, she said we deserve an identity outside of the role of caregiver. What's your reaction to that, Kendra?
Oh, absolutely. But it's one that she has to create for herself.
So, create for herself.
Mm-hmm.
How would
don't we create our own identities, Dr. Dan?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. But we've got to be willing to step outside of our comfort zone.
Good
I mean,
point.
who wants to do that? Who wants to
well,
go? Who wants
you're,
to go?
You're talking to a girl that likes adventure. I have a habit of jumping off the high dive and learning how to swim on the way down. Getting out of my comfort zone.
You know what? You're bringing up an important issue here, and that is how much of this, how much of your journey is about your wiring. That's part of your identity. A girl who likes adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of your identity. We're learning from functional MRIs that your brain's going to light up in different areas than mine. Although as I get older, I like adventure more and more. But it's how we're wired.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I also think it can be learned behavior too. As a child, I grew up in a family that encouraged me to reach out, branch out, try new things, and gave us opportunity. So I think that helped with my wiring. But I remember when I was first injured, I was really scared and completely withdrew and let go of that, that past wiring that I received from my family, that support, and had to reach back out and find it again and then cultivate it. I had to cultivate it, and I did that with community. I did that with other people that were like me. It felt like I had a posse or a crew, and we were doing it together, kind of thing. And once I began that path, it became easier and easier for me.
Yeah, it is with the nurturing love of others that we get through, and I don't think we get through without it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are because we're social animals, because our brains are social organs. We live and die based on relationships and the quality of relationships. I want to read something to you that Donna just said. She said, I found that taking a caregiver support group that is funded by Christopher Reeve and Gaylord, that I am not just a better caregiver, but a much better person. I wish all caregivers could take this 6-week course. Now I have a totally different outlook on my life and the love I have for people. My husband is also involved in helping others because of my involvement. I wonder, Rob, are you there?
I'm still here, yes.
Yeah, I wonder, are you familiar with that group? Because I am not.
No, but I was silently thanking Donna for the plug.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which, because we give out a lot of, it's a quality of life grant, I'm sure, that we've given out to support Gaylord. And we give out hundreds of those a year, so I do not know for sure where this is.
All right. Donna, please get that information over here, either on the web page, ideally get it here to the chat, and I'll be able to read it, and Rob will post it on the web page. Donna also followed up by saying, Dr. Dan, I believe we all have to love ourselves first, because before we can be truly loved, my husband now has a new identity. We have to have compassion for ourselves. We have to approach ourselves kindly. And even our vulnerability, even our weak areas, even our dark areas. Not that it's okay to be angry or whatever those dark areas are, but the person who's angry, the person who's vulnerable, the person who's in a dark neighborhood inside their head is a kind person, basically, who's suffering and needs kindness and compassion. So if we can at least approach ourselves with kindness, with a kind of understanding, I don't even know if we have to reach that threshold of love. I personally, I struggle with that. It's loving me feels a little uncomfortable and, just kind of narcissistic. But I love easily and generously. I love my body. I love my mind when it's being thoughtful. I love it even more when it's being playful. But I love my ability to love, but loving me, it's a little uncomfortable, but I love what I'm able to do, and mostly I feel grateful, so grateful. But, Donnie, you're on the right track. We have to be kind to ourselves. If we can't tolerate ourselves, if we're hiding parts of ourselves, we're resenting it, no, we can't feel loved. Others might love us, but we can't feel loved because we got those barriers up, and we say to ourselves, sure, they say they love me, but if they only knew. Or how can they love this part of me? I don't love it. So you're right. You're right. So are you in a loving relationship, Candace? Friends, family?
Yes, I have friends, family, and I'm in a relationship with myself too, of learning to love all parts of myself, and the idea of kindness really resonates with me, and it's something that I practice on a daily basis with my meditations. It's a loving kindness meditation that begins with myself and then spreads out into the people in my life and people I don't even know, and that practice has helped me begin to really appreciate the different parts of myself that I sometimes feel like, oh, I wish it wasn't like that. And then look at it and go, well, if it wasn't like that, then maybe the other pieces in me wouldn't be the way they are, and all of it creates this whole, and so it helps me keep moving around in that space of really appreciating all of it, not just the parts that I think might be good or someone might like, but all the parts. And
I had that experience on my 33rd anniversary of my accident in December, and I talked about it here, that all of a sudden I realized all of the things it took to get me to be sitting at that Starbucks with that woman across from me, drinking that cup of cappuccino with just the right amount of sugar in it. All of the factors that brought me to that moment, and very few of which I had in my control. I mean, if you want to go to the beginning of the story, I could be thankful to my father's sperm count. And the fact my mother said, okay, Jack, okay. I'm thankful for that moment. What are the chances that I'll even be here? And when you think of it that way, all of the factors, that come into us having a life at all, let alone a life where we can have a meal whenever we want, most of us, or have a connection with somebody, or smell the roses, or see if we can, or, what are the chances? What are the chances? Here we've got information. Rob, are you still there?
Yeah, still here.
All right, so we got information from Donna about this course. Todd Johnston, who is VP of Resources on the board at Gaylord Hospital. teaching the course at the present at HFSC. I don't know what that is. HFSC in New Britain, Connecticut. He's part of the Christopher Reeve team as well, and Robin Sanders. So there. So here's what you got to do. Rob, can I give you a little homework?
Absolutely. I have my pen and paper ready.
All right. Raise a ton of money. Find out about this course and have it taught all over the country.
That's like the old joke. I'll be happy to tell you how to be a millionaire. First, get $1 million. Yeah. Actually, I should make. I'm sitting here laughing, but we have started in the last year a peer-to-peer program, and I'll double check the website, and I will post it in the chat once I'm sure of the website. But it's a mentoring program that we're looking for people that need to be mentored, and we're also looking for people that want to be mentors. So I will get the URL for that, and I'll post it in the chat.
I am on that program. I'm one of the mentors. This
Who
is
is
Candace.
that?
Candace.
That's Candace.
You there?
Ooh, yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. I got certified last year it's a great program as a peer mentor for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, and have worked with people, and it's a great certification in just for your own personal knowledge. There's a lot of great information and tools in there about mentoring yourself too. You could totally turn it back on yourself and be using it. And I'm really excited that the foundation is doing something like this. And there's also a resource book that goes along that the foundation has, but it's also something that we use in our mentoring, is making sure that people have this resource book from the foundation right away.
Well, that's great. And, Rob posted the web page there that everybody can see, ChristopherReeve.org/peer. Donna, by the way, said those letters, and if anybody wants to look it up, they stand for the Hospital for Special Care in New Britain. So, it's worth looking up. My goodness. Such dramatic change in such a short period of time. I'm sure not everybody's going to have a miracle in a brief course, but it does sound like, they're on to something. So,
well, I think that one of the things, Dr. Dan, that's happening, with a course like that is that so much of what people are doing is kind of within the disability community is making it up as they go along. And so when pieces like that are put together into a course, it really helps ease the way through. And I think what happens is that more creativity comes out of a course like that, and that's where the miracles happen.
Well, there might be another miracle. I want to say to you, Candace, and a miracle to Donna, that my friend Trish, who I've talked about, is, she said she's moving to New Britain. So there. And you know what,
there.
Trish? That would be a good move for you. So I know Lori was trying to reach us. Trish just said LOL. Damn, I thought she was serious too.
Dr. Dan, I'm not sure if Lori is on the phone or not, or anybody else is on the phone. Lori, are you on the phone? You just have to hit 66 to unmute.
I'm on the phone. This is Donna.
Oh, go ahead, Donna.
Donna.
Well, hello. And I just can't say enough about what is being done with all the funding from you and everybody that is involved in giving us the chance to take these courses and share what we've learned, and then with everything we learned on the Reeve site and from Dr. Dan and everyone involved and the sharing with each other. It's just such a wonderful thing that you're all doing. And the book is the Caregiver Help Book. It's Powerful Tools for Caregivers. And it covers everything. There's so much information, resources. We do the breathing techniques, relaxation techniques. And what this is about is every week we do what's called an action plan. And it's really about something that it's not like a chore that you have to do, something that you enjoy doing. And it could be every day or 3 times a week. And try to train yourself as a caregiver to take time out. And I have found that myself, and I don't know anyone that has taken the course that has not benefited and had their life change dramatically. And I can't say enough about it. And I do know that the Reeve Foundation, had made it possible for these courses and helped pay for the books and such. And with the connections and what you're doing here, I guess I would have to call it a miracle that you have accomplished what you have done. It's remarkable what you're all doing, and the advice. And I also want to compliment you, Dr. Dan, on your last webcast and the way you reached out to Lori. I'm sure that Lori has many friends, but I've listened to it several times, and it was a wonderful, wonderful webcast, and I want to compliment you on that.
Well, thank you. It was so very meaningful for me also.
It was, and I've
to anyone who enables me to open my heart like that. So,
I know.
Listen, we are just about out of time here. I'm so grateful to you for all these resources, Donna.
Oh, you're welcome.
And Candace, still there?
Yes.
I want to tell you how grateful I am to you for being kind of my partner here for this hour, because without you, I would have been a nervous wreck here, and I would have probably gone on blithering about, I don't know, a child or something.
Oh, you're welcome, and it was my pleasure also to be able to become vulnerable over the phone with you.
Well, it's a.
Well, I think Candace was just warming up, because actually, Dan, next Wednesday, a week from today at 4:00,
she is
doing her own webinar about adaptive sports.
Oh, really?
Oh, Candace, you are awesome. I can't wait.
Thanks, Donna.
You're terrific. What a gal.
What you guys don't know about Candace that she's probably a little bit too shy to say, is she is a retired world-class Paralympic athlete.
Oh, congrats on that. What?
So
I knew. I'll say what a gal again.
Thanks. But I'm actually going to be cheating Dr. Dan, because I'll be interviewing experts in different adaptive sports fields. So I'm going to have my own partner from the beginning.
Well,
she's a partner with her.
Hey, Girth. So
yes?
you've been letting me out here all these months, high and dry by myself. So what's up?
I remember you saying you didn't even want me on this show. So.
Oh, Rob, we need you.
Oh, thank you. You're very sweet.
All right.
And hi to Lori if she's listening.
Lori is listening today. Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. Hello, Lori. We love you.
Yeah.
Hey, Lori.
We sure do. Lori, she said, thanks dearly.
Oh, you're very welcome.
we're overtime, and I don't want to make Rob have to pay overtime out of his pocket.
Okay. You take care, Dr. Dan.
Thank you, everybody.
Talk to everybody next month.
Let me just say this. There's just real quick. So Candace is on next week, a week from today at 4 o'clock, same time, 4 o'clock Eastern, talking about adaptive sports. And actually 2 weeks from today, we are having a presentation by a group called Blaze Sports that's going to talk specifically about wheelchair basketball. So sports-wise, we've got that. And then, of course, Dan will be back on the first Wednesday of the month, as he always is, on March 6th at 4 o'clock. And the topic is yet to be determined for any of that. And then the last little piece is at ChristopherReeve.org/webcast. I'll have this up as soon as I can tomorrow morning. And at ChristopherReeve.org/community, you can pop in there, and there's a spot that Dan has in the community that you can continue these conversations or join some other conversations if you like. So
thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan, for being part of this, and Candace, and Donna. I thank you. Sorry, I appreciate all you guys, all your participation, and for spreading the word.
Well, thank you for making it happen.
That's right.
Thanks,
Thank you, Rob.
Talk to you guys all next time.
Take care, Candace. Take care, Dr. Dan and Rob.
You too.
Great
Bye.
chat.